Hey, good morning, everyone. Hope you're all having a great day. I'm Deepak, a product manager at Glovo. Today, I would like to give you a framework on landing your dream PM job. So, I've been a PM for about 6 years, and this is mostly based on my learnings from experiences of mine and that of my friends and my colleagues. So, the first question that we are going to try and address: when do we fly the coup, right? And let's get the answer to this by eavesdropping on a conversation between two PMs, Todd and Bozak. So Todd's been having a great time at his current company. He's been there for a while. He has shipped some great products. He's made some great connections, and he has had a lot of great learnings. Now Todd's wondering, is it time for him to start looking for a different challenge? And Todd consults with his friend, Bozak. Bozak, the really wise PM, tells him that he has a really interesting framework to look at this problem, right? Onto that framework. So when do you decide that, or when is it a good time for you to start thinking of a switch, right? So there are several factors that you should probably consider. One thing is your personal growth. If your current learning feels like it's being plateaued in the current job, or you have covered the breadth of your current product area or your feature, well, that's a pretty good reason. Another point is if you think you're not getting the learning that you need or seek from your manager or from your colleagues, or if you seek more responsibilities in addition to your current role. Another point, which is pretty important, I guess, is your compensation. If you know that you're not paid as much as the market median for your experience or skill level, that's a pretty good reason to start looking out. The third reason is cultural misfit. If the skills that you have and the values that you have and the skills that the company demands and the value of the company are not in alignment, then I think there is a misfit there. And at this point, this is definitely a point for you to consider, right? Well, so our friend Todd looked at his framework and decided that there are definitely some reasons for him to start looking out for a job. And he consults with his friend Bozak again. So Bozak, being the really wise PM he is, tries to help Todd by looking for some way to resume or continue at the existing company. If we looked at the problems that we discussed earlier, one was the personal growth, right? Can you address that and continue to stay at this company? Well, there always is a way. The most important step of resolving this is to talk to your manager about your concerns, sound your concerns out, see if they respond positively, right? And it's always great to ask for a concrete plan to mitigate your concern. So if your current product area is not exciting, ask for a product change. If your current responsibilities are not enough or exciting enough, ask for more breadth, more stuff on your plate. The worst thing that can happen is the manager says no because there are no other changes possible at the company in this moment. But the most likely scenario is that your manager understands your ambition and will try and make some changes to accommodate you. Another point that we talked about was compensation, right? Again, I would say sound it out to your manager, but do it in a data driven way, like how a great PM would do it, right? Don't do this, that don't go and tell your boss that my colleague X is getting paid more than me, just pay me as much as him and I'll stay. That's a horrible way to do a negotiation or a discussion. What you should do is you should communicate that the salary that you are paid is not in line with the market salary for somebody of your skill or your experience. And this is a great way to negotiate or discuss this further. And if the company has the capability to do it, they will try and give you a raise to match your expectations, right? The third point that we discussed, and which is not in the slide, is the culture misfit part, because this is a really tricky one to navigate. And if you have some issues around it, it's really hard to make a big change at the company unless you are in a pretty senior position or you're really close with the founders and the head of product and you can make a meaningful change, right? Well, so Todd looked at all these problems. Todd thought maybe he will try and resolve these, but some of it did not get resolved. So Todd has finally decided to look out for a job. And Todd wants, again, Bojak's help. So what Bojak suggests on how to look out for your job, right? This is a framework that I use. This is a framework that Bojack recommends, so I use. And it all starts by shortlisting well and shortlisting intelligently, applying in the right way, and then putting an effort to convert the interviews to job offers and crack one or many of them, and then choose the one that best fits what you're looking for. Well, so the first step, shortlisting companies, right? So how do you decide what are the companies that would be a great fit for you? The first step is to list down the products or the industries that you want to work in, and understand the companies that are hiring for that, hiring for those products, or maybe even if they're not hiring, just write it down. Try and understand the culture of these companies, right? How do you do that? At this point, probably you might have a pretty big list, so it's easier to just use technology to reduce your load. So look at online platforms such as Glassdoor, Blind, etc., to understand what people are talking about this company, right? Now, once another way which I also use is I try and listen to talks of the leaders of the companies so that I understand what their vision is in the long term, right? More on that later. So now you have a list of companies with some exciting products that you want to apply and work for, right? So first step, how do you get interviews? So the best step, the best method for this is referrals. Traditionally, it always works because the referrer has an incentive. Actually, the referrer has two incentives. If you're a brilliant person, if you're a brilliant PM, the referrer wants you on their team. If another incentive is that in most companies have a referral scheme so that the referrer gets some benefit because of the referral, right? If you can't find anyone who will refer you for that role, go to the careers page of the company, and you can go through LinkedIn, Glassdoor, and other job seeking sites to apply to open roles at these companies. So what I'm going to suggest a bit out of the box is using emails or LinkedIn to reach out directly to hiring managers and apply for those jobs. So why would I recommend this? Because I think hiring managers have the biggest stakes in the hiring process because they really want to get the best talent on that role. And they would really, really like to get a sense of what are the people that they're going to hire. So the way I would recommend you to reach out to them is not by sending a plain vanilla email that says, hey, I'm Deepak, I like this role. Can you refer me or can you interview me for this role? No. The right approach is you understand the role that's being advertised, understand the product that the PM is being hired for, try and create a short case study on a problem that you think this product is facing. Make assumptions, that's okay, but make reasonable assumptions and use reasonable proxies for data. Now, why would I recommend this? Because with this, you achieve two things. One, you stand out from other folks who are approaching the hiring manager, plus the multitude of folks who would have applied already through LinkedIn or the job sites, right? The second is you already give a high-level view of your thought process and your skill level to the hiring manager. So there's a greater probability of you being able to crack the whole process if you're good, right? Now, you used my techniques, you used the wildcard approach, you got a ton of interviews. Great job. Now, probably the hardest part of the whole process, right? Which is to convert those interviews to job offers. How do you do that, right? So the framework here is, it sounds like fairly common sense, but it's really hard to nail it down and execute it perfectly, right? So the first step is to prepare. Read up extensively on the company, read up well on the industry that the company is in, and the product area that you're being interviewed for. What are the possible problems that the company might be facing? What are the problems that your product might be solving for? What are the challenges? Think about it and make sure you have a fair enough understanding, and also prepare some smart questions that you could ask the interviewer to understand a bit more about the company, right? Now, the second step, you may have got a lot of interviews, but unless you are one of those top 1% people, you will definitely face rejections, right? There will be some interviews where you will not crack, maybe you are not having a great day, or maybe something is not going great in the interview between you and the interviewer. That's okay. What is most important is that you use rejections positively in order to create a feedback loop which will improve your approach over time. So what I personally do is, or what I personally had done is that I have a sheet, a document which I outline all my interview experiences. I always try to get feedback from the interviewers themselves on what I did right, what I did wrong. If I don't, I write my assumptions down. And wherever I think I've faltered, I try and improve those things, right? So with when you ask feedback from interviewers, again, it's a hit or miss. Some interviewers will give specific feedback, some may ghost you, or some may give you pretty generic feedback. But use them judiciously and try and improve yourself when you get this feedback, right? Something kind of close to this whole point is to stay motivated. It will be tough when you are interviewing for a few roles and some of them don't work out. Rejections are never easy to handle, right, in real life, unless you are a salesperson, right? A lot of respect for salespeople. But anyway, so you handle those rejections in the stride. It may get tough. Use people for support. Use your friends, mentors, or trusted colleagues for support. But that's okay. Because if you are rejected, it does not mean that you are a horrible PM. What it means is that the skills that you offer, the skills that you bring to the table, and what the company was looking for in that role did not really match. So it's okay. It's great that you guys decided this early on that it's not going to fit. And there are tons of jobs, great jobs out there. Keep applying for them, right? Now, I would also recommend you to stay focused and pace yourself. I know some folks, some friends of mine who had carpet bombed a ton of companies. They got a lot of shortlists and they were interviewing 2-3 companies in the morning. They were interviewing a company in the evening. I wouldn't really recommend that, right? Because honestly, I think it creates burnout. Second, it spreads yourself too thin. If you want to prepare well, and if you want to prepare in a focused manner, this approach of applying to a ton of companies at the same time can be really difficult, right? So pace yourself, understand what your capacity is in terms of being able to have interviews and processes going on parallelly, and try and optimize for that, right? One more really important thing in any stage of this whole process, when you're applying, when you're interviewing, when you're asking questions, please be honest. Don't bluff about your experience. Don't say that I've done this and that when in reality you've not done that, because you will eventually get called out on that at some point or the other. And it's a really, really unprofessional look on you, right? If you are not sincere. Well, so now apparently a lot of people might think this is the easy part, right? You've done the hard work, you've got some great offers, or you have got that one great offer. Now just sign on the dotted line and get it over with already, right? No, not really. So this is, I think, a really underrated yet very important step in this whole process, where you do your due diligence in evaluating the company that you're going to be working for, right? So you're going to be spending a considerable amount of your day in this company for the next few years, many years. So you would want to make sure that everything is aligned and you don't have a mismatch of expectations once you land at this job, right? So what I would recommend is you understand the role before you sign on it in these 4 pillars. First, the role. Is this the product and the seniority level that you are happy with? And is this the kind of industry that you're going to work for? So with me personally, I always look for different challenges, a different industry with a very different user persona, because I think it gives me a really good breadth of experience, right? But of course, it can be different for different people. Second, the culture fit, right? If this was the reason you left the older company, you should definitely double down and do really deep analysis on it, right? Now, this point and understanding how empowered your product teams are. These are really critical, I think, for a PM. So I think these are really critical areas for a PM to be really sure of. And how I normally approach this in order to get the right data to make a call is I try and reach out to PMs of the company that I'm going to join, or the company that's giving me an offer. both former PMs and current PMs, because it gives you a sense of progression of how company has changed over the last few months or the last couple of years. And this is what I think you should be really, really careful about and really smart about, right? Another point which is really important if you're a strategic thinker and if you want to stay in this company for a long time is what is the leadership thinking and what is their vision for the future for your company. How do you get that? Again, I would say probably try and look out for interviews given by the founders of your company or the CEOs of your company. If you've been interviewed by executive management, you should ask these questions in those interviews. You would probably get a good feel of it, of what exactly the company is looking at for the future and where exactly are they headed, right? Well, I am a big nerd. So when I had to face a decision between, let's say, two companies, I normally create a Google Sheet and I quantify a score for each of these attributes for both the companies, and I assign a weight. The weight is basically the importance of that attribute to me, right? You put in these numbers and you calculate the scorecard, and it gives you a objective comparison. Of course, it's not really objective because these numbers that you're putting in are a bit subjective, but still, it really gives you a good sense of which company matters to you more. And ultimately, that's important, right? And that's how I would recommend you to make this choice, because when you do this exercise, you really know what your gut's telling you. And that's also a really great feedback, right? So once you've done all this, figure out which is the best fit, and then sign on the dotted line and join your company and have a great career ahead there. And that's all from me. I hope I was able to help you, or at least some of you, get some idea about how to land your dream PM job in 2021. All right. Bye-bye there.